Hello, good morning. Happy Tuesday. I am joined this morning by Miss Pauline. I'm going to let her do an introduction of herself in a minute. I'll let everybody have a minute to start jumping on. This is the first Better Than Coffee segment I have done in 2024. One of the things that a lot of people in marketing, social media, et cetera, that they'll tell you to do if you're doing anything in that the social media realm is to make sure that you're consistent and you always do, you can be relied upon to always do things on Tuesdays or et cetera. And hate to tell you guys, that's not going to be me because I'm super busy. And not only that, though, I really want to make sure that anytime I come on to talk with any of the guests that I bring on, that it's meaningful and relevant. I'm not going to sit here and just put content on and talk about things just for the fun of it. But, Pauline was someone I really wanted to bring on and talk about. Well, we'll get to the weeds of it in a minute. But the Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act, we'll talk about that in detail. The other thing, it is February 6th. We are made it past January. I made a post as we went into the new year about resolutions. I think I'm going to probably butcher the statistics on this, but it's, around 80% of people have already abandoned their New Year's resolution by February. So just a little bit of advice, free advice this morning. Yeah, do a little gut check on how you're doing on that New Year's resolution. A lot of times success is not being super crazy innovative or anything like that. It's just about sticking to your plan and, work ethic and pushing through. So as we get past the first month of the year, and we're rolling into February, check that, see how you're doing on your New Year's resolution. All right, without further ado, it is 8:02 Central Standard Time. Brandy Vines, I am your host. As I've mentioned to you all previously, about 22 years of experience within healthcare staffing and operations. Uber passionate about all things healthcare. Today, Pauline on the line with me. Pauline, I'm going to kick it over to you, let you do an introduction of yourself. I had put it in the post as we were scheduling this event. Pauline, not years, decades of experience in healthcare leadership, as well as, experience within immigration and clinical immigration into the United States. So Pauline, but I'm going to let you do a more thorough, robust introduction of yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Brandy. I'm Pauline Xavier, as Brandy indicated. 35 years or 30 plus years, I would say, in healthcare. The last 23 in international recruitment and immigration. Passionate about healthcare, passionate about making sure that our staff is well taken care of, making sure that our patients are well taken care of. So all things healthcare.
Awesome. Well, I'm honored to have you on with us this morning. So the other joy that I get to have is that I actually get to work with Pauline. Pauline is part of the EPIC Healthcare and Life Sciences organization that I joined this past October. And it's been a pleasure getting to know Pauline and, again, her subject matter expert knowledge within the immigration and international staffing business. So Pauline, give us, if you don't mind, just a real quick, what is the Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act? What is it, the high level view?
Well, Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act is a bill that was introduced by Senator Durbin out of Illinois, along with Senator Kramer out of North Dakota. And the goal here is to try to get 25,000 visas for nurses, 15,000 for physicians set aside so that they don't have to go through the whole process and be held up because of retrogression. This would allow Congress to recapture about 40,000 visas, unused visas. And these visas is pretty much of people who started the process and for whatever reason abandoned it. So these visas are available. I think at last count, a nonpartisan group indicated that we had over about 200,000 unused visas as of 2021. So the goal is to try to get Congress to pass HWRA to allow us to get those nurses in, which we so desperately need at bedside.
So, and we're going to dive in deeper into this as we go through the discussion. And just for the audience, we will be posting in the commentary a lot of very helpful links for you if you feel compelled to reach out to your representatives and really help this initiative to get this passed. We'll have all sorts of kind of spoon feeding you, like, here's your contact, here's the email for your state, here's even templates. So we're gonna put all that in the commentary after this so that you know exactly how you can actually help with this. I know sometimes, some of you come on here, you can only pop up for like 5 minutes. That's perfectly fine, but we're gonna put all the details in the commentary post so that you can really assist with this initiative, again, if you feel compelled to do so. So when, I want to rewind just a little bit, talk about the history of HWRA, because I know this isn't new. And I know there's also been areas where it's gained traction historically, where also it's kind of got to a screeching halt. So I don't know if you can maybe walk us through the history of the act and what we might need to know to figure out if this is something that we want to advocate for.
So I will say that for as long as I've been working in immigration, we've been trying to get laws changed because a little bit of history. The government allows 140,000 visas per year for employment-based visas. Now, one would think that that would only apply to nurses, but it doesn't. It's for everybody in who falls into that category. Nurses and physical therapists happen to be in what is called the Schedule A, so they don't have to go through the whole perm process. However, because of that limited number, 140,000, which is used by everybody, with no one country getting any more than 7% of those visas, we find ourselves from time to time in what is called a retrogression, because there are more petitions filed than there are visas available. And sometimes, depending on what country, you could be retrogressed for 10, 15, anywhere from, I would say, 2 to 12 years or more. So HWRA, and given the fact that we had COVID, that COVID wiped out a huge number of our nurses, I think I'm preaching to the choir when I say the average age of a nurse at bedside is about 48. And so with COVID, you had people who died from it, people who just finally decided it was time to retire, so they left the workforce. We also have a situation where we can't educate enough nurses. And once we get them out of nursing school, the ones that we get out, 1 in 5 leaves the bedside in 3 years. So it's kind of a perfect storm. So the goal here is to try to get some set aside as we go into the next, I'd say the next 3 years. They're predicting that we'd have a shortage of 450,000 nurses. That's huge. So the goal here is to, get some nurses in country. So HWRA started in about 2021. Certainly, Senator Durbin again, his co-sponsor then was Senator Coons out of Delaware. We did get some traction, as always, and then it stalls. And I think part of the reason why it stalls is because for a lot of people, it becomes an immigration bill. And, that back and forth with who wants what in immigration. But at this point, it is no longer an immigration bill. It's never been an immigration bill, actually. It's a healthcare bill. We need to do something. We can't sustain the pace we're on. We have, an aging population. We have fewer and fewer nurses at bedside. We educate and graduate fewer and fewer nurses. And so, and then we have a retrogression, more people filing for petition or visas than we have, more people filing petitions than we have visas. So it's a perfect storm. And this would allow for these 25,000 nurses to be able to come in. They're all educated. They all meet the minimum educational requirements, the English requirements. They've all passed the NCLEX. So these are people who are ready and able to come and integrate into our workforce to help our nurses, our current domestic nurses, and hospitals meet the needs of taking care of their patients.
I'm going to stop and do a shameless plug for EPIC. We talk about, they meet the minimum requirements, to come into the United States. One of the things with our international service line from the Epic staffing group perspective is that it's not even just bringing them here and saying, oh, they passed NCLEX. It's really making sure that they are embraced part of the culture, everything from, and Pauline, you can speak to this better than I can. I mean, we put them it's through 6 to 8 weeks in a simulation lab, clinical simulation, as well as, from a cultural, I guess, integration, making sure they know how to drive, find their groceries, like all of the things. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that at all.
Yeah, it's key. I mean, well, our due diligence on the front end is making sure that the people that we bring in meet our requirements, not just the basics. Okay, so
Yeah.
the number of years of experience, the experience in the certain specialties that we have needs, where we have needs. And to your point, yes, they come in, they spend about 6 to 8 weeks with us, go through the clinical lab. We make sure that they're competent. Head to toe assessments, S-bar communication, how they start an IV, how they use the pump, even with the Pyxis machine. So the whole 9 yards, they go through that. And on top of that, we, get them driving, help them with getting a car, help them with communication, and not so much language, but what to look for, slang, tones, and how to manage through that. So when a nurse gets to a client, he or she, the adaptation period once they get to the client is much shorter. And to your point, yes, it is. We are proud of what we do here in terms of getting our nurses prepared.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I'm actually going to get to be with Pauline in a few weeks in good old Nashville, which I love Nashville. It's a great city. And really go into our simulation labs and stuff. Excited about that. Okay, Pauline. They tell you there's a certain things in the work setting that you shouldn't talk about. It's like religion, politics, some of those things. I'm going to do the no. I'm going to talk about politics for a second. So you already hit on it, but I want to hit on it a little bit harder from the perspective of, I live in Texas, and dear goodness, it's an election year. I think at large, there's some politicians that like to play it safe, when they're here in an election year and not do anything that's polarizing. And it's going back to the fact that this is not about the borders, right? Like this is a, what'd you call it, Pauline? This is a healthcare act, right? This is about getting individuals here into the country to help in a staffing crisis scenario, right? And also, this isn't the magic solution, right? This is just part of it. We have to work on education. We have to work on retention strategies. There's so much. We have to work on our payer process in the United States. There's so much to work on, but it is something that, we can work on to help make an impact. But when we look at this, it's ensuring that, we understand that this isn't something about border control. That's not what this is. It's something totally different. And, Pauline, I want to ask, from your opinion, because I'm sure you hear this all the time, oh gosh, we're taking U.S. American jobs, right? We've got people coming in that are going to take our careers, right? And I'm going to go back to the numbers, right? The amount of shortage that we're projecting in the years to come, 40,000 is, I hate to say it this way, it's like a drop in the bucket, right? But it is something. And so I don't know, what would you say to the I guess domestic American nurse or clinician that's saying, hey, this is taking our jobs?
Well, from our perspective, I would say the domestic nurses that our nurses work with are grateful to have them at bedside, because it does help with, their ratios. It does help to give them a good work-life balance. But overall, to your point, 40,000, and let's talk about that number. It's only 25,000 for nurses.
Right.
It's not going to take jobs away. The Department of Labor has designated the nursing profession, that occupation, as what is called Schedule A, meaning that we don't have enough people who are able, willing, ready, or capable to do the job. So, 25,000 is not going to take it away. Besides that, we also have to show that our pay is comparable. So we have to do postings, we have to do all of those things, and to show that this facility needs the job, needs the nurse, we need the nurse. And so, yeah, it's not going to take away any jobs. If anything, it is going to help alleviate some of the stresses that our domestic nurses feel at bedside and give them an opportunity to have a good work-life balance. It's not going to affect them negatively at all.
So, with the audience on and those that go back and watch and review this after the fact, what is it in your opinion that it's going to take for us to get this act across the finish line?
The representatives need to hear from CNOs, need to hear from the hospitals. Let's look at Texas, for example. I mean, you need to call your congressperson, you need to call your senator and say, this is what I'm facing as a CNO. I have to close units, or I have people waiting in the ED because I don't have enough staff to take care of them on the floor. So those are some of the things that they need to hear. Senators and congressmen need to hear from our CNOs, our CEOs, and on how difficult it is for them to meet the staffing needs, meet proper ratios, reduce patient mortality, increase patient outcomes, all of those things. They need to hear from you that, that is what is needed to help the situation that they're in right now. It's not going to be, as you said earlier, it's not going to be the end all be all, but it is going to alleviate some of the pressure we're feeling right now. We have the worst shortage in the past 50 years in nursing. I mean, and then another 400,000 leaving the bedside in the next 3 years. Those are scary numbers. And I can't imagine what it feels like to be a CNO trying to do, or even a nurse manager on the unit trying to do a schedule and picking and choosing, where you could find that nurse. It's tough.
Yeah, and that's kind of the road that you were going down. There was a publication that came out not long ago talking about even just like the unit manager or director, the amount of direct reports and their core staff that they have to manage. Everything's out of ratio, right? Yeah. And looking at that stress and the pressure. And so I'm just going to pause again. Anybody listening, I know you're busy. I've had so many amazing clinical leaders that have had the joy and pleasure of working with over the years. And I understand your day. You're up before anybody else. You're at the hospital way past everybody else. You're a lot of times administrator on call. You're there on the weekends. We're going to spoon feed this information to you because we understand how busy you are. Again, that's why it's going to be in the comments so that you can easily know exactly what representative to email and call and make your voice be heard. But you have to make your voice be heard. You're the one in the trenches and the weeds of it experiencing these shortages, and it's going to take your voice. And so, the whole better together, really there is power in numbers. And so I think that's, between Pauline and myself, we want to implore everybody to recognize that. And you can't be in that mentality, oh, I'm too busy, somebody else will do it. Everybody hears the story of the car crash on the side of the road and they assume that somebody else has called 911.
Yeah.
Assume nobody has called 911. We need you to reach out to your representative. So again, we'll put all that information there so you can easily access and reach out.
Yeah, and it's you already have some support. The American Hospital Association supports HWRA. Yeah. The Physicians Association. We are also looking at the National Rural Health Association, who supports it. So there are a lot of organizations that support this bill, and the more voices that your representatives can hear, the faster they'll act. It is our hope.
Awesome. Well, and anybody who's listening, I know, Pauline, wealth of knowledge in the space. I know her heart of gold, like she'd be willing to answer any questions post if you have them. Feel free to drop them in the comments. You can direct message me. You can direct message Pauline. Let us know, what questions you might have post this discussion, so it can really help, again, advocate for something that could potentially, provide some relief within our staffing crisis in the United States. Pauline, anything else? Any other thoughts on helping the U.S. staffing crisis or other areas that you're passionate about that you want to talk about today?
Well, to your point, yes. Anybody who has any questions, I am more than happy to answer those for you. I will also, if need be, give you talking points, even send you the directors, the legislative directors' email and phone number so that you could call. Sometimes an email, if it's sent as an attachment, it goes into that black hole. But if you just send a note or even making a phone call, the phone call is powerful. Letting them hear from you, whether you do it at the local office or you do it in Washington, D.C. office. That is key. So anything I can do to help to get this bill across the finish line, I am more than happy to put it out there. I'll walk the hill with you if you need me to.
Literally, she's being literal.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Well, Pauline, thanks for taking time out of your busy morning and jumping on here with me today. And again, anybody else with any questions, reach out. Let us know how we can help assist, with any questions, or if you're struggling with getting in touch with any of your representatives, et cetera, let us know. We'll jump in, okay?
Absolutely.
Everybody have a wonderful Tuesday and a wonderful rest of the week. And thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you.
Bye, Pauline. Great chatting with you.
Bye-bye.